morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Not as busy today as it was yesterday on Monday after the weekend, but still a lot of stuff happening. Oil ended up coming back down yesterday from those highs, hitting up at 110, 115 at one point per barrel. Come back down and drop below $100 per barrel as the day went on. Get you the quick update on that here coming up as well. We'll get you the market watch, the local or the stocks we're paying attention to, I should say, the local and national stories you need to know as well. So let's get it all started with the market watch. Market now with the time change, since we don't change here in Arizona. For those of you not in Arizona and don't know that, and are watching us, we see you out there in the East Coast and Midwest that catch this program out there. Well, market's open at 6:30 our time now, so we get the market opens, and look, everything is down again today as well. Dow Jones right now down 188 points, 47,486. The S&P 500 is down 23 points, 67.64 is what that is trading at right now as well. NASDAQ down 59 points to 22,636. Russell 2K, I don't know what's going on with our ticker on that. We use an outside source for this. Russell 2K is actually down today as well, about 4 points right now. It's trading at 25.48. So I'm not sure what's happening there on that. We'll have to send our note in like we do for the NASDAQ one to see if they can get that fixed. But Russell 2K is down 5 points here today as well. Bitcoin, well, it's up 1,400 points so far today, but still below the 70,000 level. 69,852 is what Bitcoin is trading at as of right now. So oil has come back down yesterday, but today it is back above $90 a barrel. Yesterday got down in the $87 a barrel range. At closing yesterday afternoon, back up above 90 here this morning. So oil is just going to be one of those up and down movement things here based off of what's happening. Obviously, everybody's paying attention to the Iran situation over there in the Middle East as well. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, well, we'll look at a couple retailers here and one entertainment company in terms of snow skiing and resorts. First one we're going to look at is Kohl's out there. We've chronicled Kohl's many of times here over the last couple years. Just a corporation trying to get younger people to shop there. Well, they're up 7.77% here in early market trading. Market's been open for about 30 minutes now, but they were down in pre-market trading about 9 percentage points. So once it's open here today, Kohl's has rebounded and up 7.97%. But they did post disappointing fourth quarter revenue. The revenue was $4.97 billion. The estimated amount that people were looking for, $5.03 billion there. So missed on the revenue side of things, but their fourth quarter earnings were $1.07 per share. The expectation was only 85 cents per share for Kohl's. So missed on the revenue line, but did hit on the earnings per share side. So pre-market down 9%, but here's the market opens up 8.78% here this morning right now. Now let's go to the ski resorts here, and of course the biggest one we pay attention to, Vail Resorts, is what we're looking at right now. Down 1.30% here in early market trading. Pre-market, they were also down the same amount as well. So they stayed about the same here since the market has opened. Well, their problem is weather there, right? They reported earnings of $5.87 per share. $1.08 billion in revenue as well. Well, the investors were expecting $6.10 per share, so they missed that by a decent margin there at only $5.87 per share. They were expecting $1.11 billion in revenue. They came in at $1.8 billion in revenue, so two big misses here as well. The problem is also Vail Resorts lowered its guidance, and they blamed it all on the weather, and rightfully so. If you've known anything about this winter, the mountains that normally get large amounts of snow, several feet of snow, well, they're not getting it this year, especially up there in Colorado and Utah. So they lowered their guidance, and they blamed it on, quote, the persistent, historically challenging weather condition in the Rockies, unquote. They just haven't gotten the snowpack there to where people are flocking to these ski resorts for winter vacations. Well, Vail Resort's down 1.30% here today after lowering their guidance and missing their numbers as well for them in their last reporting session. Then we're going to look at one. They're not here in Arizona, but we're going to look at Casey's General Stores here. The reason being is, we do have obviously some big convenience stores here. And just how one does that mean the other ones go that way? I'm not too sure about it, but they were down 2.6% here in pre market trading. You can see that's flipped here as the market has opened up. They're up 2.61% right now. Their third quarter revenue was a miss here for this company. Casey's General Stores reported revenue of $3.92 billion, while the estimated amount was $4.04 billion. Earnings did top expectations, though. And this is kind of just a precursor here to some of these other big convenience store chains. How are they going to fare here as reporting continues out there? This is probably some discretionary income, right? You walk in, soda, you get your gas, soda pop. When gas is, 4.30 a gallon, do people go in and get those discretionary income items and things to that effect? Is kind of the eye opener here that we're paying attention to here with Casey's General Stores and what it possibly could mean for other convenience stores out there as reporting season continues on. Next up, when we come back and look at stocks, I should say, we're going to look at Taiwan Semiconductor, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and even Vertex Pharmaceuticals. They have a drug update here. We'll check on their stocks doing with that drug update as well. But first, look, the government side of business that affects everything. We talked yesterday about the tariff situation with the Canada Mexico treaty. We, of course, talked a lot about the oil prices and how it's affecting certain things. And so those stories haven't changed at all here on Tuesday. So we're going to go ahead and talk about something else here regarding the war. And now officially, Anthropic, that artificial intelligence company, that's the Claude chatbot, if you are familiar with that, they've officially sued the Trump administration now over the Pentagon's choice to designate Anthropic's company as a supply chain risk, is what they labeled them. So, according to Anthropic, they allege the federal government retaliated against the company over its opposition to the use of AI for lethal autonomous warfare. But even they don't want mass surveillance of Americans to happen with the artificial intelligence system either. So, if you don't know, Anthropic was formed by a bunch of people that were part of OpenAI back in the day in ChatGPT. Well, ChatGPT and OpenAI has gone away from the initial mission statement, including Elon Musk left them because of this. They left it because of do no harm, right? Type of thing. Now ChatGPT is like, hey, use us however you want. Well, Anthropic still holds those initial core values of don't use us for harm and bad things in their eyes. So the government was using them until recently, about a month ago, and now they're filing suit over the words being used about them as a company. So Anthropic does claim the government violated its First Amendment rights, misused a national security law to blacklist it, and even sidestepped the normal process for canceling federal contracts. So they filed it, of course, with the courts here. And Anthropic said in their filing, quote, the Constitution does not allow the government to wield its enormous power to punish a company for its protected speech. Anthropic turns to the judiciary as a last resort to vindicate its rights and halt the executive's unlawful campaign, excuse me, I have the hiccups, of retaliation. Don't know where the hiccups came from there. Anthropic claimed the government's actions have inflicted immediate, far-ranging, and irreversible harm, is how they phrased it in their filing as well. They said they have already suffered unrecoverable revenue losses with the way this has gone down as well with the government. They did add that it stands to lose existing federal contracts as well as opportunities to pursue new ones as well. So, an artificial intelligence company didn't like the government using them for some of those war things and surveillance. So the government said, fine, we won't use you. They took it to the next step and said nobody can use Anthropic, and now they're suing on retaliatory terms here coming up. This is going to be an interesting case. It's one thing to say, hey, we're just not going to use you anymore. If we're going to use you in a way you don't like, it's another to go that next step. So we'll see how the judicial process kind of plays this out as well. Of course, ChatGPT stepped up and said, we'll take over their contracts. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this does play out as well. I've got an update for you as well here. We looked at, of course, Hims and Hers Health stock yesterday, and it was up 33% or so when we looked at it yesterday. It ended up about 36% up yesterday. I've got some more details here. This, of course, is the story of Novo Nordisk dismissing its patent infringement lawsuit against Hims and Hers Health. That's because the two companies have reached an agreement, and that will see Novo Nordisk branded weight loss medicines, specifically Wegovy, will now be allowed to be sold through the Hims and Hers platform now. So the backstory here, if you remember, early last month, Hims and Hers said it was going to launch a cheaper off-brand version of the pill Wegovy that just went through FDA approval. That was just a couple weeks after Novo Nordisk launched that highly anticipated reformulation and pill form of that Wegovy weight loss medication. At that time, Novo Nordisk did vow to sue Hims and Hers and anybody copying their drugs. They basically called the product a quote unapproved, inauthentic, and untested knockoff unquote of semaglutide, of course, which is the chemical name for Wegovy in terms of those circles. Of course, the FDA got involved with this as well. 2 days later, though, Hims and Hers did drop its plan to offer the cheaper off-brand version of Wegovy's pill. That move came a day after the FDA threatened to restrict access to the ingredients needed to copy popular weight loss medications. The FDA does permit specialty pharmacies like him and hers, and there's hundreds of them out there, if not more, and to make compounded versions of brand name drugs, but only when they are in short supply, right? And we do know that the big demand for GLP-1 drugs in recent years, they prompted companies like Hims and Hers to jump on that multi-billion-dollar market for the drugs. Many patients willing to pay cash for it as well. But then back in 2024, the FDA said the GLP-1 drugs were no longer in a shortage. Well, that was expected to put an end to the compounding, but the compounding companies are smart. They relied on an exception to keep selling their versions of the medications because the practice is still permitted when a prescription is customized for the patient. And that's what the customization does of these companies. Novo Nordisk just says, here's a pill, take it. Hims and Hers and these compounding type companies do it specific to each patient. That was the exception. So that's the backstory there. And if we move to today, and yesterday, of course, when this deal was inked and put out there and led to that 36% increase in Hims and Hers Health stock, well, the deal now is there, and the two companies announced it on Monday. Hims will offer oral and injectable versions of Wegovy and Ozempic on its platform later this month. Hims will stop advertising compounded GLP-1 drugs on its platform or in its marketing as well in this deal that is out there. But Novo Nordisk did say in a statement that it's reserving the right to refile its lawsuit anytime in the future if it feels it's necessary to do so. So obviously, I'm sure there's a monetary payment to Novo Nordisk for them using the rights to the drug. We'll have to see if there's any more details coming up on that side as well. And Uber customers, pay attention to this here because it's officially launching. I can't remember if they were doing the test here. I don't believe they were, but Uber has officially launched as of yesterday that feature to allow both women riders and drivers across the U.S. to be matched with other women for specific trips. So that's a pilot program aimed at addressing concerns about the safety of the ride hailing platform. Of course, Lyft also is involved with this as they have a similar feature rolled out as well. So this new feature for women can request women drivers or vice versa. Drivers can request women passengers only. Well, it's being rolled out nationwide despite the ongoing class action lawsuit against the company in California. Well, it was filed by Uber drivers who are arguing in court that it discriminates against men. Obviously, Lyft, having the same type of a policy, is facing the same discrimination lawsuit over that similar offering that they actually introduced nationwide back in 2024. And now Uber's catching up there with their nationwide policy also. Uber's women only feature, well, it was announced in a blog post, and it allows women to request a female driver through the option on the app. Look for something that says women drivers if you're interested in this. Passengers can opt for another ride if the wait for a woman driver is too long. They can also reserve a trip with a woman driver in advance as well. A third option allows female users to set a preference for a female driver in their app settings. Well, that would increase the chances of being matched with a woman, but it doesn't guarantee that it will happen. Uber also allows teen account users to request women drivers as well. Now, the in terms of the driver side of things, Uber's women drivers they can actually set the app's preferences to request trips with female riders specifically. They could turn off that preference at any time if they want to. Not getting enough rides, but from what I understand, if you're not getting enough rides, it will give you other options. It's just you prefer the front one. You prefer the women only first there, but that is a nationwide thing now out there. If you're interested in that out there, and or following this lawsuit that's happening as well on kind of the discrimination against men lawsuit there in California, and get into some air travel news as well. Right, we talked yesterday. We looked at airplane stocks yesterday, and the stocks that we're paying attention to. Well, this one has nothing to do with the DHS or at least the TSA people not getting paid. Has nothing to do with oil prices out there. Yeah, the FAA briefly grounded all JetBlue flights. Well, early Tuesday morning, but the problem is since we're on the West Coast time frame now, it was late evening here where they were grounded by JetBlue, and it by the way was at the request of the airline JetBlue that they have a ground halt there as well. The nationwide ground stop, it applied to all destinations, all facilities. It was in effect from 12:35 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Eastern time here Tuesday morning. Folks, if you do the math, that's 9:35 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. here in Phoenix and along the West Coast. So a lot of flights going out at that time, I would imagine, as well for that short ground halt. Well, what happened? Well, JetBlue told Fox Business in a statement, quote, a brief system outage has been resolved and we have resumed operations safely is their statement out there. So if you know somebody, well, you already know that now, but they might have been delayed last night or early this morning coming back here into town from the East Coast. So just heads up on that as well. And other airline news, let's talk a little bit about Spirit. We know they're coming out of their bankruptcy after second bankruptcy in a couple years, threatening or saying that they're going to have to close their doors because of they don't have enough money to continue to operate. Well, now they're coming out of bankruptcy and they have a problem. Yeah, not enough pilots out there. Spirit Airlines is now calling back all furloughed pilots after a higher than expected attrition, which means pilots quit or move to other airlines out there. But that higher than expected attrition has strained its operations as well. They put a company memo out. It was viewed by several outlets. I know one of them was CNBC and one was Fox Business, but Spirit Airlines furloughed hundreds of pilots back in 2024 and 2025, all to save millions of dollars and to match a smaller operation than they then used to operate in that second bankruptcy. Pilots chose a lot of them didn't like we're not just going to sit at home. No, they chose to take other jobs, which obviously is leaving Spirit on short staffing here of pilots. Spirit did confirm on Monday it sent notices to about 500 pilots who were involuntary furloughed between September 1st of 24 and November 1st of 25. They're calling them back to work as, quote, and this is their quote, we continue to make adjustments to meet the evolving needs of our business, unquote. And if you remember last month, Spirit had already recalled furloughed flight attendants because they needed them in the sky. So, yeah, enough pilots quit that they have to start bringing furloughed pilots back from wherever they are, Bahamas or whatever, just relaxing right out there. So Spirit getting back up and operating here, coming out of the bankruptcy, at least planning to here. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we keep things rolling here on this Tuesday. Of course, we'll get you updated on, the show statuses like we always do. Market Watch is the market's been open almost an hour now. At 7:30, it'll be an hour. Take a look at what the market's doing. We'll, of course, take a look at stocks we're paying attention to as well. A couple tech stocks out there is what we're going to look at, and a pharmaceutical one with the drug update. So come on back. It's McCollum on Business, Tuesday morning edition. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, Tuesday edition. Appreciate you joining us here at 7 a.m. Don't forget, we got to update a few things here, but don't forget, we're a morning business show now moving forward. Most times we'll be here at 7 a.m. here at Robat TV Live. Of course, as soon as we're done here, we get the show posted on demand at Robat TV as well as on our production YouTube page. TME Media AZ is where you can find the page that has all the shows that we produce here. And we're working on some other ideas coming out as well. And as I've told you before, if you know anybody that wants to do kind of an afternoon or early evening business show, reach out to us. Anybody wants to host that or anything, reach out to us. Let's see if we can put something together and have a couple business shows here on the channel coming up. As soon as we get done here, we roll into the main event as well. Usually on Tuesdays, we have Bruce Cooper joining us. Well, he's unable to make it in today, so we'll see him on Friday coming up. But me and 17-year NFL veteran Del Hillistrade will get you through the sports world. Look at legal tampering time frame for the NFL. Cardinals making a bunch of moves yesterday. Of course, we got Suns, Diamondbacks, World Baseball Classic talk coming your way. Bobby Hurley, is this his last game coaching the Sun Devils today if they lose against Baylor at 9:30? Well, we talk about all of that and more here coming up live 8 to 10 a.m. here at Robat TV. As soon as we're done, we get it posted, not just on Robat TV for On Demand, but on that YouTube page, TME Media AZ. Like and follow that page if you would. Therefore, of course, the main event also has its free podcast system at TME Sports Show, or just search the main event with Steven or the main event with Dale. It'll pop right up for you on your favorite podcast system, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. out there. Then, of course, the Pit Stop. New episode coming on Wednesday for you. We look back to Phoenix with the IndyCar and, of course, NASCAR weekend there. We look ahead to Las Vegas this weekend. IndyCar goes to Dallas or Texas here coming up as well. Arlington, I believe, Texas coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that and look ahead to that as well. That episode will be on demand Wednesday about 1:30, 2 o'clock. It gets posted. I'll look for that Wednesday as well on the Pit Stop, not just here at Robat TV, on that YouTube page. TME Media AZ is where you can find that YouTube page as well. And then that has its own podcast as well at the Pit Stop Talk, or just search the Pit Stop with Steven and it pops right up for you on your favorite podcasting system as well. Give that a like and follow there as well. Of course, The Real Matrix, Fridays at 10 o'clock. New episodes come your way here at Robat TV. At noon, it hits Rumble is where you can find the full episodes. There on our Rumble page, TME Media, there on Rumble. If you search for that, it comes right up for you. Or The Real Matrix, Angry Patriot as well. Of course, that has a podcast system as well. Just search The Real Matrix, Angry Patriot, for instance. It'll pop right up for you on the podcast systems as well. Noon on Friday, 10 o'clock here at Robat TV, folks. I don't know what the episode is this week. I guess we'll find out later today, but it'll be another interesting one. Is I think it's another one on the pandemic as it was last week as well. So, folks, with all that being said, let's get right back into the Market Watch. We know what's happening in this marketplace as we've got kind of a surprise here happening right now. Oil hovers at $90 per barrel today, so big comeback yesterday, dropping price of that oil. As when we were doing this show, it was over $100 a barrel, went down into the high 80s, 87 or so. This morning, about $90 per barrel. Traders, of course, keeping an eye on the Iran war situation over there. And that means, well, the market is doing what it's doing right now, right? So look at this. We've got some positivity. Dow Jones up 19 points right now to 47,709. The S&P 500, well, it's basically even. It's fluctuating back and forth, but it's even. 67.88 for it. The Nasdaq right now up 13 points to 22,709. The Russell 2K, as you see there, actually the Russell 2K is incorrect on your screen. That one is actually still down 6 points right now to 25.47 is what that is looking at. I'm not sure. We use an outside service. I'm not sure why that is incorrect for a second day. We'll have to send a note into them and see what they say we need to do. Bitcoin, of course, still trading underneath 70,000, 69,818 for Bitcoin here today. Stocks we're paying attention to in this part of the session of the show. Well, the first one is Taiwan Semiconductor is what we're going to look at. Their shares are down 1.10% right now for them. Well, in pre-market trading, they were up 1%. So we've seen a flip here since the market opened. Well, the Taiwan Semiconductor reported a 30% increase in sales over the first 2 months of the year. So obviously up in pre-market, and some people took that pre-market money and sold it off. So it's down 1% here as well for Taiwan Semiconductor. Hewlett Packard Enterprise, another one, technology company. Well, it was up in pre-market, and you can see it's down in regular market trading as the market's been open for about an hour now, down 1.19% right now. They earned 65 cents per share. The analysts only expected 59 cents per share for that. The company had $9.30 billion in revenue. Well, that was short of the $9.33 billion that was expected for Hewlett Packard Enterprise Company as well. So currently down 1.15% here in early market trading. Then there's Vertex Pharmaceuticals we're going to talk about here. They're up 7.23%, all because they're a biotech company, and they obviously do drug stuff out there. They said that its drug met its goals in late stage trials, which is the one you want to meet your goals on because that means next up is getting out and selling to the public. But late stage trials for their IgA nephropathy, I knew I was going to do this. Nephropathy. Okay, I knew I was going to do it. I knew I was going to do it, folks. Yeah, but basically the drug, the chronic condition that can lead to kidney failure. I worked on that word for like 10 minutes before the show, folks, and I had it down. Boom. Cameras start rolling, and I can't say nephropathy. Hey, here we go, folks, for breakfast, right? So they're up 8.01%, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, based off of that late stage trial as well there. In my mind, I can hear me saying it properly. The second I start to say the word, though, it goes sideways quickly there. So let's get into some other stories out there. Got a couple local stories coming your way, but those flying taxis. Well, coming more and more to actually going to start seeing them in the skies here pretty soon. The FAA has approved 8 pilot programs that's going to allow a handful of companies, including the big ones, Archer Aviation, Beta Technologies, Joby Aviation. We talk about them a lot here on the program, or frequently, even Whisk, right? Those types of companies. They're going to start widespread electric aircraft testing as early as this summer, folks. Yeah, it's a 3-year program. It's going to span 26 states total. It's designed to ensure U.S. companies lead the way in next-gen aircraft used for personal travel, regional transportation, or even cargo logistics and emergency medicine carriers. the Advanced Air Mobility and Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing Integration Pilot Program. Yes, folks, that's literally what it's called. Have that on your business card. It was announced last year through an executive order by President Trump. It's all in that effort to speed up the development of the, of course, aircraft and ways to get around. The FAA has to certify any new aircraft for it to be available for commercial use. And that's a multi-year process to get done. We know these companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year to get these things up so they can go into the certification process. Well, this pilot program is going to allow these companies to test these aircraft. These are those EVTOL aircraft, even though they have not received full regulatory certifications. So here's some of the state partners. So, and also the rule on this pilot program is you have to partner with a state out there. You can't just do it yourself. State partners that we know of, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, well, they've partnered with Archer, Beta, Electra, and Joby. They're going to test a dozen operational concepts, including one out of a Manhattan heliport. The Department of Texas, the Department of Transportation there in Texas, will work with Archer, Beta, Joby, and Whisk. They're going to test regional flights connecting Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and they're going to eventually include Houston in that process as well. That program will include building networks of air taxis that will expand from each city to extend regional reach as well. Well, then you can go and go to Utah here, and Utah is going to test next generation aircraft and operational concepts, not just in Utah, but across the Pacific Northwest, the Rocky Mountains, even the plains of Oklahoma is where they're going to get this testing done. It will test a wide range of next generation aircraft and operational concepts out of Utah in that partnership. And then there's Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. They're going to include 13 states. They're going to revitalize regional flights across the country. And then Beta, Elroy Air, and others will test cargo and personal transportation flights into the Gulf of America and also to energy locations such as Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. The Department of Transportation in Florida, Louisiana, and North Carolina, they're leading projects as well. We don't have the specifics on those three, but the city of Albuquerque is working with the Reliable Robotics. They're going to test autonomous operations out of New Mexico. So that pilot program's going, and as you travel around the country, you might start seeing these flying aircraft now with these pilot programs out there. Another big words out there. We know that tech companies are doing massive layoffs this year, but a lot of it due to AI. A lot of it is due to shrinking their businesses down as well. And now we find out that Oracle, right, the enterprise software company, it's a giant company as a whole. They're reportedly planning to get rid of thousands of jobs due to mounting financial pressure. And it's all because of its aggressive push to build AI focused data centers. So a little bit different of a situation here for Oracle, but they may slash 20 to 30,000 positions. That would be about 12 to 18% of its global workforce and out there. And that's a big cut here. Now, why are they having to do it? Well, they could be implemented as early as March of 2026, according to Bloomberg News out there. The move is driven by a cash crunch. So, because they're spending so much money on these data centers out there. Wall Street does expect to keep Oracle's cash flow negative for years with the amount they're spending on the data centers, which is leading to the company to seek alternative ways to preserve liquidity, which of course means lots of layoffs here. But on the other side of it, Oracle's having several U.S. banks scaling back their financing for Oracle's AI data center expansion specifically. They're not giving them the loans they thought they were going to or already have out there as well. This we know this because several investment banks, one like TD Cohen, have said they're reportedly voicing their growing concerns over the company's ability to repay debt, given the enormous capital required to build infrastructure for high-profile AI clients. Companies like OpenAI, for instance. So banks are pulling their funding or not giving them funding, which means they have to self-finance this stuff. Means they need to get cash and liquidity out there. The layoffs are expected to free up $8 to $10 billion in revenue for the company in terms of its cash side. So, it's not an AI; it's AI reasons why these layoffs are coming. but it's AI because of their extensive dollar amounts to build these data centers for these large companies and not being able to get the funding to do so like they originally once were. So a little bit different of a scenario there, but something these companies, large companies, are facing coming up here as well. And hey, here in Arizona, right, the Arizona Attorney General's office, they went out and did some sleuthing. Well, they say that hundreds of store clerks and businesses were actually caught selling tobacco to people under 21 years old last fiscal year. Now, I'm not going to name the places. You can go to their website and see them if you'd like to. But the latest Operation Counterstrike is what they call it. Well, it resulted in more than 450 criminal citations issued in connection with nearly 1,900 tobacco retailer inspections. Statewide store compliance checks are done by youth volunteers where people underage goes in and asks for them as well. But they're not there by themselves. They are paired with Attorney General investigators. Authorities say the roughly 14% fail rate, well, it shows that there are persistent bad actors out there, meaning they continue to sell no matter what. The Attorney General's office has publicly identified more than a dozen retailers with a troubling pattern, is how they phrase it, of selling to minors. Two retailers on the list, they're considered to be among the state's worst offenders, and they face consumer fraud lawsuits as well. They're, like I said, I'm not going to name these companies. One, there's a lot of them, 450 of them, or 400. A lot of them are repeats, but 450 at least named items out there. You can go to the Attorney General's website, but look how big of a problem it is. 14% fail rate on selling tobacco to people under 21 years old. And then, of course, we already have Waymos here and for autonomous vehicles. We know Tesla's got their permit to start doing their robotaxi testing, which I don't believe has happened here yet. But now Amazon has announced that it's a Zoox robotaxi service. It's officially coming to Phoenix as well. They announced this yesterday. And, Zoox is the autonomous ride-hailing company for Amazon. I like these vehicles. It's in Las Vegas. You'll see them running around Las Vegas. But it expands. They're expanding their operations after that successful service launch in Las Vegas. Going to open a Phoenix Depot and a new fusion center for mission control up in Scottsdale. Unlike autonomous ride-hailing companies that are their competition, companies like Waymo, Waymo uses traditional vehicles fitted with self-driving technology. As you can see on your screen, if you're watching us here, well, the Amazon project has built entirely new robo-taxis, and they're designed around the rider instead of the car, and you fit into that. Dukes will deploy retrofitted test SUVs with safety drivers behind the wheel, and that's all for mapping and data collection in several central Phoenix neighborhoods, including downtown Phoenix. The actual robo-taxis will be sent out for their testing once the mapping and the data collection is complete. There's no timetable provided for when these Zoox taxis are going to be available for the public for rides. Why are they coming to Phoenix? Well, obviously, we have this history of allowing it to happen here, but also Phoenix's weather is going to give Zoox the opportunity to learn more about how its sensors and batteries perform here in the extreme heat of summers, but also the dusty conditions, which is interesting because they're successful in Las Vegas. Very similar climates here. Las Vegas is actually drier than we are, but same dusty conditions in the desert up there. Same heat in the summer as in Las Vegas. Probably a little bit hotter up there in Las Vegas as well. So interesting that they're using that as the reason to come down here for more of that testing. But you're going to start seeing more of these little funky looking machines out there on the streets here coming up here in Phoenix as it continues to keep going on. And folks, I appreciate you joining us here for McCollum on Business Tuesday edition. Well, we're going to roll into the main event, here with me and 17-year NFL veteran Del Hellestray. We'll get into all of that. So come and join us. Catch us on demand. Share us with your friends. We'd appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday's edition, McCollum on Business, 7 a.m. Have a great Tuesday afternoon, everyone.